I think it's important to use systems that are going to help make your life easier. That's the whole point of them. And also so that you don't have to remember things. People like to ask me questions. They're like, don't you remember? I'm like, no. I try not to remember anything because then I can't relax at the end of the day if I'm always trying to keep everything in my head. Welcome to the Nopalera podcast, a place where I share the journey of building my company from the ground up, as well as the stories of others in our community. I am your host, Sandra Velasquez, founder of Nopalera, a culture-forward brand that celebrates and elevates culture. Aside from making great products, we are cultural storytellers with a mission to inspire our community to stand in their worth. In this podcast, you will hear a mix of solo and guest episodes around the entrepreneurial realities of building a company. I launched Nopalera from my Brooklyn apartment with no outside funding while working 3 jobs, raising my child in the middle of the pandemic at the age of 44. Thank you for joining me on this journey. I hope it inspires you to live boldly. Hey, everybody. In episode number 2, I talked about the 6 pillars of building a product-based company that will last. And in today's episode, I want to focus on one of the pillars, which is systems and operations. It is that topic that no one wants to talk about. It's super unglamorous. It's not sexy to talk about systems. But you guys, it is so important. No business runs without a system like backend. So in today's short episode, I just want to walk you through what we are currently using here at Nopalera. And this is real-time information, so this might change. I might change my mind on some of these systems, or maybe you guys will give me recommendations that you love that might replace things I'm using. I'm totally open. We're always growing. We're always learning. And we have watched ourselves outgrow things that we used to use in the beginning. So I wanted to share with you what we're using now. Hopefully it will inspire you to look at these things and assess what you need for your business. Okay, so here we go. For team scheduling, we use ClickUp. ClickUp is a project management tool. You use it on your computer, on your phone. The computer version is much better. And we use this as like our skeletal backend for planning. So we plan on a quarterly basis when it comes to, marketing, anything that we're going to release, like content, product launches, etc. And the reason I like ClickUp is because it connects to our Google Calendar. Now, that's because I am very calendar driven. I live and die by my Google Calendar. If it is not in the calendar, it is not happening. So I think it depends on how, you work. That's going to determine which project management tool you love. Other ones that people love are Asana, Monday.com, Trello, Notion. And I actually really love Notion, but it does not do the whole Google Calendar connecting thing. And that's ultimately why we chose ClickUp. Because, for example, I can schedule a task for my assistant and it will go to their calendar with a due date. And same thing, our social media manager can schedule something for me and put it in ClickUp and put a date on it, like write this blog post, right? And it will go into my calendar. So that's ultimately why I like ClickUp. Now, for social media planning, we use later.com. I love later.com. I think it's very reasonably priced and it allows us to click and drag. We can see everything at a month's glance. We try to plan for a month in advance. We're trying to get to quarterly planning for social, but even a month is still great. Our content manager can go in and schedule the pictures and write the copy and, enter the hashtags and then set and automate it. So set it to auto post on a certain time and day. So again, you don't want to be writing the post as you're posting it or the day before. You want to really schedule those things in advance. For our team communication, we use Slack. I really was hesitant to bring Slack into Nopalera world because I was already in 5 other Slack channels for other things that I'm involved in. But it's still the easiest. There's a reason why everyone uses Slack. It is still easy to use. You can use it on your phone. You can adjust your notifications so that you don't get pinged every time someone writes something. And as our team grew and things got more complicated, I needed a central place where I could kind of talk to everyone or talk to subgroups within the company. So just to the marketing team or to everybody. So Slack is what we are using. For inventory management, we are using a Shopify app actually called Shopventory. And I'm not in love with it, but after all the things that we tried, it was the best solution for where we are right now, mainly because it allows us to track our inventory in different locations. For example, we might have jars in our storage warehouse, and then we have lids at this co-packer, and we have boxes at this co-packer. So you need to keep track of all of your stuff, and you need a software or a management tool that will allow you to do that. And not all of them do, or some of them have limitations. So that's why we ended up using Shopventory. For bookkeeping, we are currently using QuickBooks, but I have to tell you a little backstory because I didn't always use QuickBooks. And my message to you is that you need to use something that will allow you to do accrual accounting. And if you don't know what that is, no problem. I didn't either. Once upon a time, you can Google it. But as you start to scale, and if you start to look for investment, or you start to try to get inventory financing, you're going to get asked for your financials in accrual format. And QuickBooks allows you to do that. And I had actually been using Bench for the first year of Nopalera, which I thought was great. And it was at the time, but then I realized that it was not because it does not do accrual accounting, which means that it was not taking our inventory into consideration. So even though we have, thousands of dollars worth of inventory sitting at our warehouse, it didn't have that listed anywhere as our assets. So long story short, we're using QuickBooks right now, and you need to have some sort of bookkeeping system in place. That's actually number one. So even if you were launching tomorrow, the first thing you should do is find some kind of bookkeeping solution, because what you don't want is in a year or two to have to go back and redo it all. I'm kind of in the middle of that right now, and it's a big, big headache. All right, now next is TaxJar, and that is for sales tax collection and reconciling from your website. So, every single state in this country has different tax rules, like sales tax rules, and even the counties within the state have different rules. There is no way that you can keep track of all 50 states and their different rules, which, by the way, change. So TaxJar, what they do is they are connected to our Shopify store, and they handle all of the sales tax, like repayment, collection, quarterly filings, etc. So I really recommend TaxJar. And then Shopify, which I just mentioned. So Shopify is our e-com platform, which in my opinion is hands down the best one that you could have. Yes, there's WooCommerce, there's Squarespace, but you really have to think about how your e-com platform connects to all of your other systems. So everything connects to Shopify, kind of like QuickBooks. It's ubiquitous, everything connects to it. And that's why even though you may not love it, you have to think about all of your systems talking to each other. So Shopify is my vote. For payroll, we use Gusto. I love Gusto. I love the platform. It's so easy to use. And we have 3 W-2 employees as of right now. So all of the payroll taxes are taken out automatically. They handle that. And they will give you the W-2s at the end of the year. You can also offer a 401k, which we do. I love it. So Gusto for payroll. And by the way, you can be on payroll. I am on my own payroll. So those of you that are founders out there, please pay yourselves. All right, now for customer support, we use Zendesk. Zendesk is probably the most widely used customer support platform. In the early days, when a customer wrote about their order, it would come to my personal inbox. And then that quickly grew to be very unsustainable because my inbox is flooded with all sorts of other things that I have to deal with as a person that is running the company and wearing 7 hats. So Zendesk is great. Our customer support agent manages it, and it keeps track of everything. And then last but not least, and this is not a software, but this is definitely part of our backend operations, is our 3PL. A 3PL stands for third-party logistics, aka a warehouse. So in the early days, we used to do our own shipping. And anyone out there that's doing their own shipping, it is a full-time job. So if you really intend to scale, you're either going to hire a full staff and have your own warehouse that you manage and do your own shipping, or you're going to use a 3PL, a warehouse. So we use a 3PL because here we live in New York. We don't have real estate. I have no desire to go and rent my own warehouse and hire a warehouse manager and all of the tools needed to run that warehouse. I am so grateful to my 3PL for already existing. So they are connected to our Shopify store on the back end, and they are the ones that ship all of our orders. There's lots of 3PLs out there. Some of them are family owned, some of them are small, some of them have multiple locations. Just think about as you scale, who is doing the shipping? Again, this is kind of the stuff that you don't really think about when you're launching because you're so concerned with like the product and, the brand, etc. But really think about a year ahead. Think about 2 years ahead. What does your day look like in a year into your business or 2 years into your business? For me, it did not look like me doing shipping. I have so many other things to do to grow the company than build boxes and, remember to order tape. So I'm super grateful to our 3PL. So that's pretty much it, y'all. That's where we are right now. Like I said, these might change and we will most likely outgrow some of these or advance to other things as we grow. But I think it's important to use systems that are going to help make your life easier. That's the whole point of them. And also so that you don't have to remember things. People like to ask me questions. They're like, don't you remember? I'm like, no. I try not to remember anything because then I can't relax at the end of the day if I'm always trying to keep everything in my head. So I'm going to leave all of these systems names in the show notes so that you can check them out. And like I said, if you have recommendations, totally open to hearing them. Just reach out. And that's it for today, y'all. Stay strong. Visit Nopalera.co to pick up your favorite self-care items for yourself and your friends. Join our mailing list to be the first to hear about new product launches and exclusive promotions. Follow us on IG at Nopalera.co. Stay resilient.